Question 1. In what ways does your media project use, develop or challenge forms of media products? Firstly, within my short film Ideolon, I have used similar conventions from a typical horror film. This is because from my research into what makes a successful horror film and from my short film influences, I have found that the horror genre tends to follow a recurring narrative structure. This is a narrative theory from Tetsevan Todorov in 1977. This is seen in my short film Ideolon, as at the beginning the state of equilibrium is considered stable and balanced, as the poltergeist is yet to be introduced into my short film and to the characters. Suddenly, this changes during the park scene where the poltergeist is introduced to the audience and the characters. This reflects when the pace of the editing suggests to the audience that there is demonic activity on the horizon. Throughout my short film Ideolon, the poltergeist is seen haunting and terrorising the characters. This reflects to the audience that the state of equilibrium is onto stage 2 and has been disrupted. Furthermore, at the end of my short film Ideolon, when the audience see the shadow of the poltergeist strangling Madeline, who is one of the 3 main characters in my short film, the montage at the end acts as my outro. Throughout this outro, the audience are left to decide whether Madeline has been killed or she's gone missing. Therefore, this creates the third and final stage of equilibrium for the audience, therefore creating a new state of equilibrium compared to the original. In addition, my short film followed Prop, the Russian theorist Vladimir Prop. This theory reflects my A2 film Ideolon because within my film I have an antagonist which is seen by the audience as the poltergeist. Furthermore, the protagonist is seen as the babysitter, Madeline. The audience can see the resemblance to the helper/supporter as Connie. This is because Connie is seen as the older sibling to Rose, therefore fits the role as a supporter within my short film Ideolon. Moreover, through my research I discovered that the genre of horror consists of a female victim. My female victim is present through Madeline. Furthermore, from my short film influences, I discovered that the typical horror film had a soundtrack which is created by a selection of chords on string instruments, for example, violins and cellos. This was evident in the short film The Moonlight Man and Elegy. The soundtracks also include vocals from choirs. This followed the conventions and the genre of horror films due to the fact that the choir music is associated to churches and poltergeist activity also being linked to churches. The strings mixed with the vocals were used to create dramatic effect and to build suspense. In addition, my short film Ideolon also followed the conventions of a successful horror film. This was because through my research I found that horror films tend to use low-key lighting in order to create a sense of suspense and enigma for the audience. Throughout my film, various low-key lighting is used to express the horror genre and to reflect the conventions of a successful horror film. The soundtrack is played through the film at certain points to add emphasis on the presence of the poltergeist. Furthermore, I added in sound effects in order to create jump scares, which I'd found were commonly used in successful horror films such as The Conjuring and Lights Out, which I'd taken from my influences to create Ideolon. Furthermore, Ideolon follows a repertoire of elements. The setting of a typical horror film is set in the woods or a haunted house. Ideolon is set in a creepy house as the short film Laundryman, as this short film uses a basement to reflect the horror genre. Ideolon includes various basement shots, which I took from my influence The Laundryman. Ideolon uses props. These were the pictures and candles. This is because the props allowed me to follow the conventions of a horror film. The candles are used in correlation to present the presence of the poltergeist to create an eerie effect to the audience. The idea of the picture was taken from the successful horror film The Ring. Moreover, my short film reflects my influences. This is because I took influences from The Moonlight Man. In addition, I challenged the theory from Gay Tushman. This was because I casted a full female cast to create Ideolon. This meant that I could not only challenge the conventions of a typical horror film by having a female casted as the main role, but also challenge the theory of Gay Tushman and empower women within not only the horror genre, which is a predominantly male-influenced genre, but to further empower women in the media as a whole. We go. Question 2. How effective is the combination of your main products and your ancillary texts? Firstly, within my film poster, the background was of a still shot of a dark, narrow and demonic alleyway. This was effective because the background on my film poster mirrored how Rose felt within my short film. This never-ending alleyway reflects reflected that Rose felt disconnected from society and the living world and more connected with the unknown and the afterlife with her mother. Furthermore, the poltergeist faded in the background highlights to the audience that the mother is always looking over Rose, which is an underlying theme within my short film. Secondly, the image on the lower left of the poster of the drawing is effective because this is the point in my short film that the audience can establish the connection between Rose and the poltergeist. Furthermore, I felt that the film review was strongly written and gives the audience an understanding and curious feel towards my A2 short film, Eidolon. I took inspiration from various film posters within the horror genre. These included Lights Out, another short film known as Elegy, which is one of my original influences. I also took the influence from the Saw franchise, The Exorcist, Rosemary's Baby in 1968. I like the faded backdrop in Rosemary's Baby. This is because I used my short film, Eidolon, to suggest that Rose, who is seen to be close to her mother and perhaps possessed, is actually connected to both the living and the dead, and she is able to have conversations with the other living characters as well as with her mother. Examples with this within Eidolon are the kitchen scene, and another example is when Madeline walks into Rose's room and discovers a lot of hand-drawn pictures on her bed and around her room. This could suggest to my audience that Rose has drawn those alongside her mother, therefore mirroring the factor of Rose being possessed in the eye of the audience. In addition, my film poster is given depth from the background picture. The use of the effect reflects the open ending with my short film Eidolon. I took influence from the short film Elegy. This is because at the end of Elegy there is a flower and a gravestone with the name Olivia on it, and this leaves the audience to open interpretation of the text. And my version of this is the background and the long dark alleyway used in my film poster and my film review. The juxtaposition of the night sky to the dimly lit alleyway suggests to the audience that even though Rose is young, perhaps innocent, the dark sky could suggest that Rose is deeply connected to her mother. Overall, my ancillary text integrate into my primary product because the ancillary text highlights the key idea behind my primary product, therefore establishing a connection between the three texts. Question 3. What have you learned from your audience feedback? Firstly, from my audience research, I have learned that both female and males participated in my survey. This led to me developing a film that suited both male and female audiences. However, the audience research proved that more females would be interested in Eidolon compared to males. Moreover, Eidolon has male influences in it. These are the ideas of violence and gore which fuels testosterone. From my short film research, I found that the majority of the audience is male and therefore the genre of horror is predominantly male influenced. However, from my survey responses, I learned that the viewers would like a female protagonist and a female cast. This led to me casting an all-female cast in order to challenge the theory from Gay Tushman, who believes females are rejected from pursuing careers within the media industry. Also, when reflecting on my survey feedback, I decided to include scenes that were also created within the films that my participants put down as their favourite horror film. This allowed me to connect my audience, and by combining my original ideas with my audience feedback, I was able to create a short film that was familiar to the audience, so therefore my audience was engaged with my short film Eidolon. Secondly, one of the questions asked my audience if they would like to see an open ending to my short film. The response was yes. From this short film research, I learned that the majority of the short films had an open ending, so in correlation to my audience research, I implemented an open ending into my short film. Moreover, throughout my audience research, I learned that the participants matched my target audience, so therefore it allowed me to create a short film which was tailored to the age of my target audience, which was 15 to 21-year-olds. Furthermore, from my audience research, I learned that out of the selection I gave them, the participants' favourite horror film is It 2017. This was beneficial because I took an influence from the horror film It. Furthermore, I complied with my audience feedback because they would like to see poltergeist in a horror film, and Eidolon focuses on the elements of poltergeist. 33% of my audience liked the fact that Rose was possessed. In addition, after assessing my audience feedback, I have successfully established the reaction that I was hoping for when creating my short film Eidolon, and I have also learnt that elements such as jump scares and low monotone drones are effective and make my audience feel overall with the use of my outro montage, which I took influence from the hit TV show AMC's The Walking Dead. I was able to give the audience a better understanding of my short film and ultimately was able to deliver a successful horror film and follow the conventions. How did you use media technologies in the construction, research, planning and evaluation stages? Firstly, I've developed my editing skills over the past 2 years to deliver my A2 film Eidolon. Upon reflection, I watched various tutorials on how to develop a glitch effect because I felt that the glitch effect would give the audience a stronger feel of suspense and make them feel more on edge. The glitch effect can be seen in my titles, the park and the woodland scene. I felt this ability allowed me to follow the conventions of the horror genre more directly. Secondly, I have used Photoshop to create and develop a film review and film poster. To begin, I did not have the ability to use Photoshop software, so I found it difficult, so I decided to begin with Wix, which is a website builder. However, after various attempts to create a film review, I was unable to reflect my creativity on Wix. So this led to me to learn the use of Photoshop to create my film review and poster. Throughout my experience of using Photoshop, I learned how to add new layers and blend my photos into one film poster and review. This meant I had to erase the background of my photos in order to blend them together. Furthermore, from my research of horror film posters, I discovered there is a common style of font used, so I had to download and implement a similar style font into my Mac, which was known as Who Asks Satan. This font style allowed me to follow the conventions of a successful horror film. Furthermore, during post-production, I used software named GarageBand in order to develop and create the soundtrack for my short film Eidolon. During this process, I've developed a piece that reflected the horror genre in my soundtrack. I had various chords and vocals put together to replicate the tense strings and high-pitched vocals. Upon reflection, I felt that the use of this technology gave my short film Eidolon a more animatic and gripping feel for the audience. So therefore, this technology, GarageBand, allowed me to further develop my short film Eidolon to a higher standard. However, at first I was struggling to find the right chord and vocals to put together in order to develop my A2 film. Overall, the use of GarageBand allowed me to follow the conventions of successful horror film and resemble soundtracks for my influences. This style of soundtrack can be found in my influences such as Elegy, The Walking Dead, and The Conjuring 1 and 2. In addition, for my planning of my short film Eidolon, I used various Web 2.0 tools including Prezi, Canva, and Dynamate in order to demonstrate my ideas and skills on my A2 blog. I used the Web 2.0 tool known as Prezi for my genre theories. This allowed me to showcase my skills and creativity to others. Furthermore, this Web 2.0 tool allowed me to differentiate myself from my other standard blog posts on my blog. However, even though Prezi is a highly recommended tool, it can prove to be difficult at times. Ultimately, Prezi is an advanced Web 2.0 tool, and I would recommend it to others as it has allowed me to showcase my theories and my creativeness. Upon reflection, in order to obtain a glitch effect, I had to alter the transformation of the frame by moving the cut up clip to various areas within the frame and the grain of the image. Furthermore, I had to insert a cut at the point I wanted to edit the glitch into. In addition, I had to put an effect known as bad TV. This added to the grainy effect of my frame, reflecting a static TV effect on the frame. This had an impact on the production of my film because it allowed me to make the audience feel more uncomfortable and achieve the reaction I was looking for.